And we are back with the fifth and the final segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fifth segment, we're going to talk about something that's a little bit tough to talk about, mainly because it happened to Jimmy Butler. And if Anthony's still in the chat, then this could explain sort of like a little bit of the reasoning why Miami was a little bit wasn't really playing towards everyone's expectations, and why Jimmy Butler had to take a bit of a hiatus before the All-Star break. Now, in the series starting five with Jimmy Butler, Anthony Edwards, LeBron, Sabonis, and Tatum throughout the season last year, in the series, Butler revealed that his father tragically passed away before the All-Star break. And he said, quote, "Right after All-Star break, my teammates really need me to be a lot better. And I want to always answer to that call. But I couldn't care less about basketball right now. I didn't care. It sucks to hurt. It sucks to lose people. And let's see. I didn't know what to do. No amount of money in the world could bring him back. Basketball, no matter how much I played it, couldn't fix that." And it's a very tragic thing, like especially like losing your father in a time that's very important to your team and your season. And a lot of people that at least I remember that Jimmy Butler, he said something about like taking the season a little bit more seriously, after the All-Star break, but clearly that was just a facade to try and hide the fact that this tragedy occurred. And when family tragedy strikes, and when any kind of tragedy strikes, it impacts a lot of people, and it could impact them in a positive way certain times. However, there are also times where it could impact people at a negative way in certain times. And I mean, we saw the death of Kobe Bryant impact the Lakers and winning the championship directly after he passed away. That's an example of it happening and benefiting a team. However, when it's somebody like your father, I don't really think that any sort of motivation that you might have into playing this season, I think that's all going to just become null and void after something like that happens. And I really feel bad for Jimmy Butler. I mean, I can't imagine losing my father, regardless of how old I am. And if that were to ever happen just randomly, like I feel like most of us would go through a similar stage of how should I say this? A similar stage of grief when talking about this and trying to continue to push forward and trying to just continue to do your job, because it's a very, very difficult job that Jimmy Butler's got to do. Not only does he have to maintain the morale and the support of his teammates, but he also has to maintain the morale and the support of his fans. A lot of people are watching him, and a lot of people are expecting him to do great things, especially in the postseason. But when something like this happens, it's really tough. I genuinely, it's really something that I cannot relate to, and I can only imagine just the amount of grief and the amount of pain that he was probably in, while still trying to maintain a positive image towards the media and still trying to sort of move on from this sort of thing. It came at a very bad time, because usually we're used to Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat taking the regular season a bit more seriously towards the end of All-Star break to avoid that play-in spot, or at the very least, not worry about the play-in. And something like this happening, it's really it could really mess you up. It really could mess you up. So I just wanted to let this be known. This is sort of the reason why Jimmy Butler this might have been the reason why Jimmy Butler just didn't really seem like he really cared about the season. And it makes, in hindsight now, makes more sense. It genuinely makes more sense. So I expect a revenge tour coming in from Jimmy Butler going into this season now. Honestly, I feel like the Miami Heat, they're going to do it again. They have a good chance to do it again. They have the right story, they have the right motivation, and they still have the right players. And I mean, this is tragic, obviously. But I do think that they have a very solid chance. I sense a huge revenge tour coming in from Jimmy Butler, and he might pent up all of the how should I say this? Because there's no real guilt involved in this because he didn't do anything to warrant this death, obviously. Like, that would be crazy. But I feel a lot of the grief and a lot of the anger and a lot of the disappointments of last season is going to sort of propel this team forward and give this team the motivation that they need to get the job done. And again, like, this is a team that it's like, even when they're underdogs, a lot of people expect them to pull through and expect them to come out on top. So I expect a revenge tour coming in from Jimmy. That's all that I have to say. It's a little bit of it's definitely a much more darker segment to end it off with, so I apologize for that, but still very, very important to me, or in my opinion, excuse me. So thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. As usual, please remember to use the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment if you want your comments and or donations written and heard for in the next segment, gsmcpodcast.net. And if you don't want to use the link, that's fine. There's also Super Chat where you can send in your comments and or donations that way, and it's guaranteed to get featured on the show. Either or really helps the show and makes the show much more interactive between myself and you guys. That's all that I have today on this segment. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson. Stay safe. Be sure to watch Thursday Night Football. I'm going to watch it. And as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go.